A strange thing happens in modern life. The people who look the safest are often one interruption away from panic. The surgeon with the seven-figure income, the lawyer billing at impossible rates, the executive with the polished house and the private school tuition can be far weaker than they appear. Stop the income for 6 months, maybe 12, and the whole structure starts shaking. Meanwhile, someone earning far less each month may sleep better, negotiate harder, and wait longer, because his life does not collapse when the stream slows down. Most people confuse income with economic power because income is visible and easy to compare, while power sits in quieter places. In a culture obsessed with salary, this confusion feels natural. Job offers come with numbers, bonuses come with numbers, annual compensation comes with numbers, and those numbers let people rank themselves with clean certainty. But income is a flow, not a fortress. It is money moving through your hands under conditions that can change your health, your employer, or your industry. A large flow can make you feel untouchable right up until the day the valve closes. That is the first hard distinction. Income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays. Economic power is what remains available to you when the conditions become unfavorable. A person earning $400,000 a year and saving $5,000 is not standing on solid ground. He is covering a $12,000 mortgage, a $2,000 car payment, and school tuition that still arrives if the paycheck stops. From a distance, that paycheck looks like strength, but most of it is already spoken for. Money changes the terms on which you live. The person with reserves can say no to a bad boss, no to a bad deal, no to a city he hates. The person without reserves, even at a high income, has to convert private judgment into public obedience. He cannot wait. He cannot absorb a mistake. He cannot let an opportunity ripen, because urgency is always collecting rent from him. Economic power is resilience first. It is the ability to take a hit without immediate submission. It is the ability to endure a layoff, a medical problem, or a bad year in business without your entire life becoming a forced sale. Resilience sounds unglamorous until you notice how many people with impressive incomes are actually living at the edge of their own fixed costs. They are not rich in the practical sense. They are expensive to maintain. A person can be expensive in the labor market without being powerful in the economic order. A top consultant may command a huge fee for a week of work, but if the fee depends on his calendar, his energy, and another firm deciding to buy his time, then his position is still conditional. He is well paid by the system, but he does not yet have much control over the system. He can charge a lot, but he still depends on selling the next week of his time. Ownership changes that equation. The owner of equity, a business, a piece of software, a catalog of music, a rental building, a distribution channel, or a brand participates in upside that is not neatly capped by hours. Compensation is usually negotiated inside a range. Ownership can compound far outside that range because it captures the value of the whole machine, not just the labor fed into it.
The employee is paid for hours or output. The owner is paid when the asset keeps producing without him.
You can see this clearly in the difference between a top executive and the founder who still owns a meaningful stake. The executive may earn more cash this year, yet the founder may hold a smaller visible income and far greater economic power. If the company grows, the founder's upside can multiply without asking permission from payroll. If the company is sold, the founder exits with capital, not just a final bonus. One person is compensated generously. The other owns an asset that can change his position in a single event. This is why cash flow and stock need to be separated in your mind. Cash flow is movement. Stock is accumulation. If 10 years of high income leave you with little retained capital, little equity, little liquidity, and no assets producing independent returns, then what you built was consumption capacity, not strength. You financed a luxury lifestyle with earnings that never turned into durable assets. This often happens to disciplined, intelligent people who mistake busyness for progress because the monthly numbers are so large. Liquidity exposes the difference even more clearly. Net worth can flatter you while leaving you trapped. If all your wealth sits in a house you cannot easily sell, retirement accounts you should not touch, private shares with no buyer, or a business that depends entirely on your presence. Then your wealth may be real on paper and weak in practice. Liquidity is purchasing power you can actually mobilize when conditions change. It is the difference between having value and being able to use value. This is where many high earners become more fragile than they realize. Their assets are often tied to the same system that pays them. The executive owns company stock. The lawyer owns a large house in an expensive market sustained by high professional incomes. The surgeon has prestige but little free time and high monthly obligations. When the system weakens, the income falls, the asset prices wobble, and the social environment that justified the spending starts to turn. In 2008 and again in 2020, many people learned that a high salary, employer stock, and a big mortgage can all weaken at the same time. Leverage is the other dividing line. The person selling hours, even expensive hours, is still attached to time. The person using capital, code, media, labor, systems, brand, or distribution can produce results that are not strictly limited by his own calendar. A creator with an owned audience, a software founder with a product that sells while he sleeps, or a business owner with repeatable systems may show lower monthly income than a famous professional. Yet they may possess far more room to maneuver because outcomes are not chained to each additional hour of their direct labor. Then, lifestyle inflation enters and turns income into a trap. The bigger apartment, the car lease, the club membership, the restaurant habit, the school district, the image management, the unspoken rule that success must look a certain way from the outside. Soon the high earner is not earning to build power. He is earning to keep the apartment, the car, and the status signals that now have monthly bills attached. Every fixed obligation narrows the distance between a large paycheck and a small margin of safety. The weakness is not only financial, it is social. People become prisoners of the neighborhood they moved into, the peers they impress, the schools they feel forced to afford, the title they cannot bear to lose, the identity built around being the competent one, the high performer, the man who never steps down. Their income must continue not just to pay bills, but to defend a self. When status requires recurring payments, freedom shrinks with each one. That is why freedom is the real metric, not freedom as fantasy, but freedom as decision-making power under pressure. Can you leave when the deal is bad? Can you wait when the market is irrational? Can you absorb a year that does not go according to plan? Can you take a lower immediate payoff in exchange for ownership? Can you refuse to be rushed by short-term necessity? If the answer is no, then your income may be large, but your economic power is still thin. Employers like workers who feel rich but remain dependent. Banks like borrowers with high incomes and long obligations. Prestige industries like people who confuse compensation with security because it keeps them compliant, exhausted, and easy to predict. A law firm does not mind paying a partner very well if the mortgage, tuition, and social expectations make it almost impossible for him to walk away. That arrangement is one of the cleanest ways to keep ambitious people from noticing what they actually lack. Ask less often how much money comes in each month, and ask more often what would remain if it stopped. What do you own? What can continue without you? And what can you say no to without fear? Income can buy comfort, status, and temporary confidence. Economic power buys time, choices, and the ability to stay put when everyone else has to react. That is the difference between looking successful and actually being safe.